they consider customer success as the last weapon they have. If all fails, they believe customer success will save the relationship. That is not true. Customer success will not stand alone. It needs all the help coming from the C executive all the way down to all the businesses leaders, customer success executives, and the like. So customer success is just one of it takes the business philosophy.
Hello and welcome to a whole new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host Kimberly and we're really glad to have all of you join us today. On this show, we talk to CX and technology experts from around the globe. We explore, uncover, and share fresh insights on creating experiences that your customers will remember and look forward to. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code digital CX platform available across 14 channels with 45,000 solutions created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as the top platform by Inc. magazine, Tech World, CIO magazine, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, and Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 400,000 visitors annually. And now for our guests. We have Vincent Manlapaz with us today. He is an author, writer, and speaker. He writes thought leadership articles and interview leaders in the customer success space, sharing their stories and best practices. He has authored over 100 podcasts with Strikedeck and has written customer success for a whole new world perspectives from CS leaders. The service based Padriga mindset, unlocking value, growth, and transforming CS, organization, and more. Welcome to the show, Vincent. We are so glad to have you with us today.
Thanks, Kimberly, for inviting me and also for Engati. I hope I pronounced the company name right. So once again, my name is Vincent Manlapaz. So I just like what Kim says. I am an author, writer, and a podcast host, and I wrote three customer success books consisting of customer success, customer experience, and at the same time ensuring that the business ensures value over with their interactions with their customers. And then yeah, I'm excited and pumped up to join you guys. Thank you once again for inviting me.
The pleasure is all ours. But before we dive into our amazing interview with Vincent, don't forget to subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get access to exclusive content coming from thought leaders from around the globe. Well, Vincent, let's get started. In your book, Rediscovering Customer Success, you touch on all the key aspects needed to become a company that truly values its customers and gives them a voice. Tell us something about this.
Sure. So when we look at any CS or SaaS subscriptions right now, if you would like to have the massive growth or the type of success you would like to achieve, you should consider that or you should build that in the foundation of customer satisfaction or customer success. If you're not focused on your customer satisfaction or with your customer success, more often than not, who will some organization would do that with your customers. So in this book, I covered a couple of things. Number one is how to create, develop, and design business values where customers can take advantage of the products and services that the company provide. Number two is how to create a sustainable business cycle in which customer-facing teams could be able to own or mine customer interactions that they could be able to use for business process, sharing best practices, and at the same time for continuous improvement. Number three is why do we need to capture customer feedback? What is the essence of capturing customer feedback, and why do we need to relay that back into the overall customer success organizations? Number four is if we would like to stay relevant to our customers, what are those things we need to do? Because right now, as we progress, customers do not buy products for the sake of buying products. The customer buy products because they would like to achieve a certain business goals, and that is the help with our technology. So we are not in the business of selling solutions. We are in the business of selling the outcome we can provide with our customers. So that is depends on on the type of success we can provide with the customers. Number five is we need to tell our stories based on the customer mind shift or based on the customers, based on how would the customer would like their business to progress. Now, in building a relationship with the customers, we need to build on things that matters to the customers, not on what matters to the business, but on what matters to the customers. Now, taking these all concepts into one, it will bring alignment in three aspects. Number one, what are those things businesses need for them to succeed? Because without it, the business could not be able to succeed. Number two is what the market needs to develop or what the market needs to offer to the customer. Without it, the market would not be able to know what are those things that needed, what are those things that would make sense and would not make sense. Number three is what the customers needs. So we have to make sure that we build products based on what the customers needs, not based on what the product should be marketed to the customer. So yeah, those are the concepts based on my second book, Rediscovering Customer Success.
Well, that's really well said. All the best for your book. Well, I would like to point out on two very important concepts that you just mentioned. One is customer needs and customer feedback. I think it's very important for businesses these days to focus on the other side of the business, as in the customers, because their needs and their feedbacks is something that companies should look into and actually use that in their products. What do you think?
Yeah, that is exactly the north star of every businesses. We have to make sure that we understand what customers needs, because that is exactly how are we going. That is exactly our ticket to be able for us to build connections with the customer. Again, we don't just need to capture the customer needs. We have also to capture those unmet needs of the customers, because once the customer engages with us, yes, the sales department could be able to identify what are those needs during the discovery calls, during the demo presentation, but eventually customer expectation and changes varies, and once the business grows, their needs changes as well. So we have to make sure that we don't just we don't just rely on things that the customer said to us. We have to ask those customers. We need to ask impactful questions to the customer to be able for us to know them better. So, but on your point, yeah, those are needed in terms of building relationship with the customers.
Yes, thank you, Vincent. You put down all the important concepts very precisely. We would like to know how can we prioritize a culture for customer success? Give us some tips here. What do you think are the pros and cons of retaining customers with and without customer success software?
Yeah. So one business philosopher that comes to mind that actually helped me to make sure that the culture of customer success has been achieved. This business philosopher named Alfred Chandler is a business professor over at Harvard, and he said, unless structure follows strategy, inefficiency results. Meaning, without the shift of the mindset or without the business shift with in our organization, business results or business outcomes are just going to be a goal trying to achieve or obtain. Meaning, this is just an afterthought. It will not create a focus on real business value and a business advantage. Now, I think the most pressing questions is why should a change of business is required? Because every now and then, organization would say that yes, we have a shift of business or a paradigm shift because we focus more on the customer, but if you look on a service based perspective, what exactly they're doing in order for them to serve the customer. Now, there are a couple of things there. If there is really a business mindset shift, they are going to choose a mindset which reflect the outcome in the purpose of your brand. So that is one of the parameters if you would like to identify whether there is a business shift, because a winning customer success mindset chooses an outcome that reflects the meaning and the purpose of their brand. And then ongoing relationships will be determined by the experiences and the outcomes you or the business provides with their customers. Now, you mentioned about what are the pros and cons with or without customer success platform, if you will. Now, let me go over with the pros because we can easily say what are those cons. Now, there are four benefits or advantages, I would say, the cons of establishing customer success organizations or even adopting customer success platform. Number one is everyone will have an access to data regardless of when or where the employees are residing or working with. As we know right now, we are all working remote. So everyone needs to access, if example, I need to access in one data, I need to access what the customer says here on this platform. So having a customer success platform, you will be able to have an access to all this data. And then having a single platform allows all other team members to visualize what are those key data and prioritize what are those things that they have to prioritize. Number two benefit is anyone can identify the root cause of any issues. Now, if you can be able to look and just able to log into one data platform, we could be able to see, so these customers send requests like this, and this is exactly what the customer success manager have responded. So we can be able to consolidate all this data into one source of truth, if you will. And then number three, in terms of measuring progress, you could be able to see. So you could be able to manage a segment of customers. So these segments of customers, they are good. These segments of the customers, they are bad. So you could be able to design your engagement process on how you could be able to serve them, and at the same time, you could be able to see how is your customers progressing. You could be able to take a look on what are those best practices that the customers have adapted using your platform, and then you could be able also to provide the right attentions and support with those customers just to make sure that their projects are not going to fall in the wayside. So yeah, those are the pros of establishing or adopting customer success automation platform.
Yes, very well said, Vincent. I completely agree to how customer success softwares are nowadays becoming an essential part of business strategies. Well,
Right.
so now that we have our customer components all in place, we have our culture in place, we know what are the pros and cons here. How can we help get success goals for each stage of the business customer journey maps?
Yeah. Just give me one sec. So in the SaaS organization right now, I believe that customer trust organization, those who take the time to understand their needs at the deepest level, and at the same time that knows how to deliver the results they want most. Now, one of the key to designing successful business outcomes is for all the teams in the organization to understand what exactly the types of business outcomes their organization can and cannot deliver. I think that is the most important. So we have heard the saying that not all customers are equal, or we cannot deliver the same success to all customers. Now, putting that into context, we also need to make sure that once we design a customer success journey or a journey mapping with a customer, we don't just design customer journey for the sake of customer journey mapping. We have to have the purpose, and that purpose or that guidance should be actionable, measurable, and should be dynamic. So meaning it should allow you to ensure that that the customer journey is effective, and it will determine the success of your customer. Now, there are a couple of things I would recommend when you try to to design a customer success journey. Number one is you need to understand where the process should begin. So we know that the process started once the customer engaged with the marketing team, or how the customer engages with the sales team, and then what exactly the customers are looking for. Number two is we also need to ensure about the persona mapping. So there are four customers that I recommend when in terms of designing customer journey, number one is new customers with new needs. Number two is new customers with existing needs. Number three is existing customers with new needs. And then number four is existing customers with existing needs. So these are four types of customers that a business needs uh, to understand when they design customer journey mapping. Number three is what are those touch points involved and to whom. So again, once we engage with the customer, we have to make sure are we trying to reach with the decision maker, are we trying to reach with those persons who are only going to use the product or the power user. So those are the things you also need to consider. Number two is what are those goals the customers are trying to achieve on each and every touch point with the businesses. And then you also need to make sure that you align customer needs with their existing business needs or business processes. Now, to be able for you to put that together in one context, it only means that you need to identify along with this customer success journey, which part or which segment of this journey is helping the customer to achieve their success. If these activities or segment is not helping the customer, you need to eliminate that. So that is how way for me the process of designing successful customer journey with the customer.
Yes,
So we need to make sure that those activities, those processes that we build with the customer do help the customer in achieving their business outcomes.
Yes, you very well put down different types of customers that businesses have. Don't you think, or what do you think about personalization as a concept when we come across for journey maps? Is that a barrier or a roadblock?
Um, it is actually it is one of the advantages a businesses should do, because as we look at the SaaS organization, this is more on a saturated market. So if we really wanted to stand out in this saturated market, we need to personalize not just our interaction with the customer, but also how we provide our services with the customer. Yes, it could be a barrier or it could be a dilemma if we don't know how to if we don't know how to put that in the right way or in the right process. Yeah, as again, if you really wanted to stand out um, in this market where a lot of businesses seems like the same, or there are copycat, there are competitors who try to copy your businesses, you have to use personalization as one of your arsenal on your tools.
Yes, I completely agree with what you've said. On a different note, why is scalable onboarding now looked as a requirement? How can we execute a winning customer success strategy to elevate business's success?
Yeah, I think that is a good question, Kim, because just like just like what I mentioned earlier, customers are often lost or won in the first 60 or 90 days in a business or in their post-sale journey. Scaling onboarding is a crucial step to get our to ensure that the customers will be able to see the value in the product. So that is, I think that is the crucial thing there. We have to make sure that the customer will see the value of the product even before they deploy the product or use the product, if you will. It would also have a massive impact with the customer if we fail to deliver that the first time to value with the customer. So the first thing we need to ask is what are those required, how as an organization, how could they be able to make sure that the customer will see or will realize that first time to value. Now let me go over with four. Is that the strategy, right? You mentioned about the strategy. So let me go over with four strategy that I implemented when I designed customer success team, if you will. Number one is you have to make sure that you break your engagement into different categories or cohorts, if you will. The first one is Well, depending on your business model or business complexities, you can decide three different engagement or cohorts. Number one, you can do the high touch. So that is a one-to-one. So depending if you are strategic enterprise customer success managers, or depending on how the managers would like to break down the customers. So for a high touch segment, I would recommend that the customer success manager should have a regular calls with their customer. So after, or post onboarding, you could be able to capture your customer sentiments, what exactly working, and you can also plan your ABR, QBR. It could be on a biweekly or a monthly calls, if you will. But then again, it depends to your business models and your product complexities. Number one is a lower touch. So most organizations think that once they have a lower touch business model, no human interactions are needed. That is wrong. You have to have a human touch as well. All of this what they call the lower touch. For this kind of segment, it can be done. It can be done in a monthly or a quarterly basis, but you have to make sure that you're using the right tools and resources to be able for you to ensure that the customer is progressing. You also have to make sure that you have the right behaviors metrics in place, such as when the customers fail to log in the next 30 days, or the customer is not able to interact with you the next 45 days. It will trigger that on your own system. You could be able to create behavior on your system, and your customer success managers will reach out with your customers and discuss what exactly happened. That is one way of being proactive with your customer. Some instances it could be drop on a product use. It could also be one of the metrics that you would like to ensure capturing your customers and lower touch model. Now we have the long tail, or what we call the tech touch. So this is one to many. I know I know you also know this. So one requirement for a tech touch or one to many customer segment is you have to make sure that you have the relevant content that you prepare with the customer. Those content should provide what are those things the customer should do. It also counts with education with the customer. So if you have a KB article, that is your engineering team is providing is giving out their customer, please do so. You have to make sure that you have the right content at the right time, at the right reasons for your customer. And then it should also display what are those action steps that your customer should be taking on. Number two is you also need to establish, or this is number two rather, you also need to establish the milestones that you would like your customers to achieve in order for them to be successful. Say for example, you design about first 90 days they have to you would like to see 90% of their customers are using your product. So you have to design that kind of engagement model with your customers. Number four is how you would ensure that the product will be sticky with the customer. You might be able to something that you would like to promote, like webinar, like you invite team of your customers to attend webinar related to those things they would like to see in the product. Or you could also again create content that will be needed in their customer success journey. So those are the things in terms of scaling and then building out processes in terms of elevating business success.
Yes, I completely agree with what you've said, Vincent. And someone has rightly said that it's very important to make products for your customers instead of going with your product to your customers. So, yes,
Exactly.
so I think businesses are definitely going to benefit from all these small tips that you've given about strategies. Well, let's talk about customer retention. So, how can customer success drive customer retention? What can we do to avoid churn? And how do we implement the solution and organization that has not taken customer success on a priority yet? Like, for example, we have startups. What do you have to say about that?
Sure. Yes, I agree that customer success drive retention because this is part of their metrics. If not part of their metrics, this is exactly what they do. So that is more on that is why they call post. They're responsible to ensure that the customer sees value in the product. Although we cannot eliminate or avoid churn because this is a natural something in a business, but there are a couple of things in terms of how customer success managers should drive retention in the business. Number one is customer success managers could partner with marketing team to be able to promote customer success stories as a case studies. So if they have really successful customers, they could interview that customers, partnering with the marketing, and they could be able to develop and build customer success stories and share that with other existing or new customers. Number two, customer success manager can also encourage customers to write their own content. Say, for example, if your customers would like to speak on your behalf, they would you could be able to ask them to go on review side. They could be able to drive retention on that process. Number three, since customer success manager collects data with the customer, they can share the customer feedback all over or across the organization. That way, collaboration with the customer and all other teams will be visible, and that would also help the customers to have an assurance that as a business, they are taking good care of those things that I am asking for them. Number three or number five, customer success again, they can invest more on customer education program. It could be in a webinar, it could be on an ebook, or they could invite the customer in some processes. So those are the things that would drive retention with the customer. But the most important of them all is the customer success manager is their trusted advisor, and they are helping the customer achieve the business outcomes that they would like to do. Other than those that I mentioned, if the customer is not achieving the success, nor they are successful using the product, eventually the customer will churn. Now, I think you mentioned about what we can do if the organization hasn't taken the customer success a priority yet. Now, there are a couple of things that as a manager or a business should do. Number one is we need to start looking at our data. Our, we need to look at our customer profile. What are our data is telling us? What are those customer segments? How do we understand our customer existing needs? How it's going to evolve? What are those customer mix? What are the mix of customers we have right now? How does this group of customers do their how does this group of customers are responding or interacting with us for the next 60 or 90 days or whatever segments you would like to follow. Number two is we can always document. In order for us to have an iteration process or process oversight, we have to document what are those practices, and at the same time, what have we done in order for the customer to be successful. So we can replicate this, and we can be able to apply that over to other customers that we have. And then we need also to invest in technology that would be able to help us to gauge the customer sentiments to provide the success, because without the right tools and resources, I don't think so that the business would success eventually. Yeah, so those are the things that I have in mind.
I think yes, Vincent, you've very well put all the basic essentials that businesses could use and leverage a very good customer success program. Is there anything else that we've missed in our entire talk of customer success? Is there anything you want to tell our audience?
Yeah, I think when when we talk about customer success, most organizations believe that the customer success is how would I say the word? They consider customer success as the last weapon they have. If all fails, they believe customer success will save the relationship. That is not true. Customer success will not stand alone. It needs all the help coming from the C executive all the way down to all the businesses leaders, customer success executives, and the like. So customer success is just one of it takes the business philosophy, because that is where the again, just like I mentioned earlier, it is a business philosophy because it takes their on what they believe in. So if they have the kind of success mindset in the organization, whether they have customer success team in place or not, if they have the principles or the spirit of achieving customer outcomes and business goals, they are in the right way.
Yes, I think so. You've covered most of our customer success talk that we had, and I would like you, I would like to thank you, Vincent, for giving us your time and talking to us about the essentials and everything, and making for us a small guidebook for customer success.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I'm happy that you guys reach out, and then I'm also happy that I'll be able to share a couple of cents toward customer success. So this is dear in my heart. So I hope that I help share few things on your audience. Then if you need help from me, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to sit down again and have this kind of conversation if you want.
Yes, definitely. We will link down all Vincent's social media handles and you can contact him for all details that you need. Thank you so much, Vincent, for giving us your time. Your insights were really valuable, and I know our audience is going to enjoy this interview as much as I did.
Thank you, Kimberly, and also thank you for the guy that who just turned up the video. Thanks, guys, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. Have a good one.